अब सुरु गर्दै गरौँ।
हो न, गरौँ। कति बज्यो? हो गरौँ। मान्छे आउँदै गर्छन्। ल, हाम्रो दिपेन्द्र भाइ आउनुभयो। दिपेन्द्र भाइ एक्लै किन? एक्लै साउजीले लिएर नआएको?
साउजी आउँछ भनेर नाम साम मैले मेरो अगाडि पनि उहाँको राखेको छु। भित्र के गरिराख्नु भएको छ, सायद आउनुहुन्छ तुरुन्तै।
पैसा गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ कि आज कति कमायो भने? साउजी
जय मसी, जनी बहिनी, सुरेश पोखरेल भाइ, जय मसी शैलेशजी। हजुर,
हाम्रो दिपेन्द्रजी अल द वे फ्रम डडेलधुरा, यहाँ चाहिँ टेक्सास।
अहिले पनि अमेरिकाको डडेलधुरा।
हो नि है,
गर्मी होइन?
गर्मी त चौपट होला अहिले है, सुरु भइसकेको छैन त्यही साह्रै।
हुन्छ, अब हामी कार्यक्रम सुरु गरौँ है त फर्मल्ली। Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this program. So today we are going to have a session about project management and project delivery and strategic management and digital marketing and this other communication skills things. So as हाम्रो guest चाहिँ यो फिल्डमा एक्सपिरियन्स्ड हुनुहुन्छ अनि we expect to learn so many things from him today. So in the beginning I would like to invite Ashok Dai to begin with the prayer, and also I would like to ask Ashok Dai to introduce our guest today.
धेरै धन्यवाद। जय मसी सबैजनालाई। अनि धेरै धन्यवाद तपाईहरु सबजना आफ्नो कामको बावजुद, व्यस्तताको बावजुद आउनुभयो। आशा छ अझ धेरै साथीहरु चाहिँ जोइन हुनेछन्। अनि धेरै धन्यवाद। आउनुस् हामी छोटो प्रार्थना गरौँ र परमेश्वरलाई सुम्पी आजको हाम्रो कार्यक्रम। प्रभु, हामी तपाईलाई धन्यवाद दिन्छौँ। हामीले धेरै समय पश्चात कुराकानी गरेर प्रार्थना सहित आजको यो कार्यक्रम हामीले सुरु गरेका छौँ। यो एकदम यो प्रोजेक्ट म्यानेजमेन्ट सम्बन्धी एकदमै इम्पोर्टेन्ट कार्यक्रम हो, सेमिनार अनि हाम्रो शैलेशजीले आफ्नो कामद्वारा आफ्नो अनुभवद्वारा सिकेको कुराहरू उहाँले आज बाँड्दै हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँसँग तपाईँ हुनुहोस् अनि हामीहरू जो सुन्छौँ प्रभु, हामीले नयाँ कुराहरू, आफूलाई चाहिने कुराहरू हामी यस ठाउँबाट सिकेर आफ्नो जीवनमा, मिनिस्ट्रीमा, आफ्नो काम गर्ने ठाउँमा हामीले प्रयोग गर्न सकौँ, अरूलाई पनि हामीले एम्पावरिङ गर्न सकौँ प्रभु। अनि हाम्रो कतिपय साथीहरू आउँदै हुनुहुन्छ, काम फ्यामिलीको व्यस्तताको कारणले कतिपय जोइन गर्न सक्नुहुने छैन, जो यदि आउँदै हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूसँग तपाईँ हुनुहोस् र हामी सबै मिलेर प्रभु आजको कार्यक्रमबाट हामीले फाइदा उठाउन सकौँ। अनि परमेश्वरको यसबाट महिमा भएको होस् अनि एकले अर्कालाई हामी चिन्न पनि सकौँ। सबै कुराहरू तपाईँको हातमा सुम्पर्दछौँ प्रभु अनि माग्दछौँ येशू ख्रीष्टको नाममा, आमेन। म अब हाम्रो शैलेशजीलाई इन्ट्रोडक्सन गराउँदाखेरि मैले वास्तवमा शैलेशजीलाई र विजयलाई एउटै कन्फरेन्समा भेटेको होला, एकै ठाउँमा, बेग्ला बेग्लै टाइम होइन। 2012 इन फिनिक्स बिएनसिएको कन्फरेन्स हुँदै थियो। कतिौँ कन्फरेन्स हो मलाई थाहा छैन। अहिले 9th हुँदैछ, अहिले जुनमा होइन। मोस्ट प्रोबब्ली त्यो फर्स्ट अथवा सेकेन्ड हो कि होइन। त्यसमा भेटेको हाम्रो त्यहाँ अर्को एकजना घिमिरे चाहिँ परिवारै चाहिँ विश्वासी छन् रे भन्दाखेरि म त अचम्म लाग्यो क्या। कोही घिमिरे त विश्वासी मैले अहिले भेटेकै छैन। उहाँ फर्स्ट घिमिरे होला मैले चिनेको विश्वासी होला है। त्यसपछि चाहिँ अरू पनि धेरै पनि चिन्यो त्यसपछि चाहिँ है। तर मैले नेपाल छोड्दाखेरि घिमिरे चाहिँ यो सम्भावना चाहिँ धेरै कम छ भनी सोच्थेँ क्या म। अनि खुसी लाग्यो। अनि उहाँसँग त्यसपछि हामी साथी भयौँ। हामी त्यसपछि हामी वर्षै पछि फिनिस गइरहन्थ्यौँ। उहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो अनि हाम्रो विष्णु रेङ पनि हुनुहुन्थ्यो, त्यहाँ गइरहन्थ्यौँ। अनि त्यसरी हाम्रो चिनजान भयो। अनि उहाँको अब उहाँ एकदमै मिनिस्ट्रीमा एकदमै इन्भल्भ, चर्चमा। अब उहाँको मलाई राम्रो कुरो चाहिँ उहाँ चाहिँ एकदमै चर्चको मिनिस्ट्रीमा यति कमिटेड कि है। उहाँको मेडिसनमा उहाँले पढ्नुभयो। उहाँ त्यहाँ बस्दाखेरि त्यहाँको एउटा पास्टर चर्च प्लान्टिङ गर्नलाई अरिजोना जानुभयो। उहाँले चाहिँ काम साम छोडेर सबै भाँडाकुँडा सुटकेस काँधमा बोकेर परिवार छोरीहरू बोकेर फिनिक्स जानुभएको है। भने वाह माई गुडनेस है।
त्यति बेला बच्चा भएको थिएन सर।
ए बच्चा थिएन नि, सजिलो थियो। अनि मलाई त्यो भन्दाखेरि वाह द्याट्स माई गुडनेस है। त्यो चाहिँ मलाई अचम्म लाग्यो किनभने आफ्नै करियर नै छोडेर जागिरै छोडेर सबै छोडेर चर्च प्लान्टिङ जाने भनेको चाहिँ द्याट्स क्वाइट ए युनिक क्या, क्वाइट ए युनिक है। मान्छेले प्रार्थना गरिदिन्छु भन्छन्, पैसा दिन्छु भन्छन्, त्यो सबै कुरो छोडेर जानलाई गाह्रै हुन्छ एउटा स्टेटबाट अर्को स्टेटमा है। त्यति कटिबद्ध हुनुहुन्छ। अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ उहाँ चाहिँ फेरि उहाँ चाहिँ आफ्नो त्यहाँ काम गर्दाखेरि अनि उहाँ चाहिँ विशेष गरेर स्पेसल तरिकाले होम यो हाउस चर्च स्ट्राटेजीमा चर्च प्लान्टिङ गर्ने त्यसमा उहाँ इन्भल्भ हुनुभयो। त्यसपछि चाहिँ अहिले युटामा सल्ट लेक सिटीमा चाहिँ मर्मनहरूको बिचमा सेवकाय। त्यसको साथसाथै उहाँलाई चाहिँ म के भन्छु भने के भन्छ बाई भोकेसनल मिसनरी होइन। उहाँको आफ्नै बिजनेस छ अनि त्यसद्वारा उहाँको इन्कम छ, उहाँको आइडेन्टिटी त्यो हो। बट उहाँहरूको आफ्नो भिजन चाहिँ दे युज देयर करियर, देयर इन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप एज एन आइडेन्टिटी होइन। अनि थ्रु द्याट टु बी विटनेस इन द मार्केट प्लेस होइन। अनि मर्मनहरूको बिचमा तपाईँले भन्नुभयो मर्मनहरूको बिचमा सुसमाचार प्रचार गर्न, उनीहरूलाई विश्वास ल्याउनलाई झन्डै मुस्लिमहरूको बिचमा सेवाकाय गरे जस्तै हो। एकदम गाह्रो छ है, कटिबद्ध हुनुहुन्छ। अनि तर गड मेक्स अमेजिङ थिङ होइन। उहाँहरू 1 वर्ष पनि भइसकेका छैन के अरे होइन। उहाँले भन्नुहुन्थ्यो अस्तिको हप्ता उहाँहरूको घर ठुलो, अब युटामा सल्ट लेक सिटीमा घर ठुलो हुन्छ किनभने त्यहाँ पोलिगामस सोसाइटी। मलाई अचम्म लाग्छ होइन। त्यहाँ चाहिँ 2टा श्रीमती परिवार अट्ने घरहरू हुन्छ क्या सब चाहिँ। म त्यहाँ जाँदाखेरि मेरो एउटा अफ्रिकन साथी हुनुहुन्छ, उसले मलाई बेसमेन्टमा दिन्छ, सबै छ क्या त्यहाँ। बाथरुम पनि यति ठुलो छ, लिभिङ रुम छ, किचन छ, सब चिज छ कि है। त्यो उहाँको त्यति ठुलो घरमा बस्दाखेरि उहाँको लिभिङ रुममा पनि नअट्ने मान्छेहरू भइसकेको छ। इट्स अल हाउस चर्च स्ट्राटेजी, इट्स नट जस्ट इन्स्टिट्युसनलाइज चर्च होइन। उहाँको आफ्नो रिलेसनसिपद्वारा अनि त्यस कारणले उहाँले आफ्नो कथामा स्टोरीमा पछि भन्नुहुन्छ होला। तर प्रोफेसनलको रूपमा भन्दाखेरि उहाँ यो डिजिटल मार्केटिङमा चाहिँ सिनियर एक्जिक्युटिभको रूपमा चाहिँ उहाँ 17 वर्षभन्दा बढी काम गरिसक्नु भएको बेला बेला कम्पनीहरूमा। अनि बिस्तारै उहाँले आफ्नै कम्पनी न्यू वाइन डिजिटल होइन। उहाँहरूको एउटा डेफिनेटली देयर इज अ मिनिङ वाइ न्यू वाइन होइन। त्यो हुन्छ। त्यसमा उहाँको श्रीमती एमी र उहाँ मिलेर चाहिँ त्यो कम्पनी चलाउनुहुन्छ। इट्स रियली रनिङ वेल। अनि उहाँ चाहिँ त्यसको VP फर क्लायन्ट स्ट्राटेजी है। अनि उहाँ कन्फरेन्स स्पिकर कन्सल्टेन्ट पनि हुनुहुन्छ। तपाईँको उहाँको के अरे लिङ्कडिनमा हेर्नुभयो भने यु विल नो लट अफ थिङ्स होइन। रिसेन्टली म उहाँको लिङ्कडिन देखेँ अनि यसो हेर्दाखेरि वाह कति मलाई थाहा नभएको कुराहरू त्यहाँ रहेछन् कि होइन। त्यस कारणले अनि उहाँले चाहिँ प्रभुलाई पाउनु भएको यहाँ अमेरिकामा आएर आउने दिनमा सायद चाहिँ फलतिर उहाँहरूलाई हामी बोलाउनेछौँ। उहाँको जीवन कहानी हामीले थाहा पाउनेछौँ। अनि उहाँ वैवाहिक, उहाँले चाहिँ MK मिसनरी किड लाई बिहा गर्नुभएको। उहाँको श्रीमतीलाई तपाईँले भेट्नु भने तपाईँले 3 शब्द भन्नुहोस्, सी इज गिफ्टेड, भेरी इन्करेजिङ एन्ड लभिङ, केयरिङ इभान्जेलिस्ट है। सी इज एन अमेजिङ वुमन। अनि उहाँहरू बिहा छ। उहाँहरूको 4वटा सुन्दरी छोरीहरू छन् होइन। अनि मलाई चाहिँ 2टा छोरा भयो, छोरी किन भएन भनेको त हाम्रो शैलेशजीले लानुभएछ मेरो छोरीहरू। जोस् एटलिस्ट घिमिरे छोरी हो। आई एम सेटिस्फाइड एटलिस्ट। त्यस कारणले है त्यो छ। त्यस कारणले उहाँलाई चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ आउनुहोस्, हामी चाहिँ उहाँलाई चाहिँ एकदमै स्वागत गरेर हामी चाहिँ आजको कार्यक्रममा उहाँलाई निम्ता गरौँ।
थ्याङ्क यू है। धेरै राम्रो इन्ट्रोडक्सन दिनुभयो अशोकजीलाई पनि भेटेको त मलाई झल्झलै याद छ किनभने कन्फरेन्समा म बसेको बेलामा फुत्ता आएर बस्नुभयो क्या साइडमा। तपाईँ पनि घिमिरे हो भनेर सुन्नुभयो। विष्णुजीले भनिसक्नु भएको थियो क्या तपाईँलाई। अनि हो 2टा घिमिरे भन्दाखेरि त अब बन्धु भन्न परिहाल्यो, नामै नथाहा पाएको। बन्धुजी भने नामै पछि गएर त अशोक भनेर चाहिँ कसले भनेर अनि मात्र मैले सम्झेको। तर उहाँले भने अनुसार अब मेरो आई विल गिभ माई टेस्टिमोनी एट अनदर टाइम है। कतिले त आई थिङ्क सुनिसके पनि होला। तर आज चाहिँ बिजनेस आई हेभ सम प्यासनेट इस्युज अबाउट बिजनेस I can share with you guys. I don't have a background in IT necessarily. We have a digital marketing company called New Wine Digital, and New Wine is for the Holy Spirit. So we started the company in 2012, so it's almost 10 years now. And त्यो idea चाहिँ कसरी आयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ I had been working in digital marketing for a long time. By that time, I'd been working for 10 years already, 15 years. So I had a lot of experience. I was working for a big agency in Phoenix, the biggest one, and I noticed that we were turning away business because we were only able to take on really, really big clients, but the small ones were not being served. They wanted to work with us, but we couldn't work with them because our cost structure didn't allow us to work with them. So it was somewhat saying I was very confused. I thought, why are we turning away all this business? I was helping get this business, and the owner was saying, we don't want these clients. And then I thought, wait a minute, why don't I just start my own company, and then I can service these guys myself? And so that's the journey, that's the beginning. And so my wife, she's an evangelist, but she's also a really good salesperson. I think it's the same skill set. I know, Sugzi, it's the same skill set, right? Yeah. Evangelism in the Bible is, it's basically a salesperson. Although there was a pastor from Singapore who said that Christians are all salespeople for God. We get into trouble when we think we're in management. We're not in management, we're not the head of sales. We're not in management. We're not anything. We are salespeople. So we are evangelists. So we started the company, and then immediately when we started the company in 2012, I forged a partnership with a friend of mine in Kathmandu. And my friend in Kathmandu he already had a digital marketing business, and he had a team of developers. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Which screen do you see? Do you see? Okay, you see my my presentation slide, right?
Yeah.
So my friend, the name of the company is Neolinks, and he had worked in the U.S. as an IT professional in Missouri for 10 years, and had returned to Nepal in 2010. And so he started a company doing web development, WordPress development, and CMSs, different back-end systems, and things like that. And so I knew about this company, so I called him and I said, I have all of these American clients, and I need to service them. I need to build websites. I need to build platforms. I need to integrate with CRM systems. I need to do, different things. So we negotiated a rate. He assigned a couple of developers, assigned a project manager, and then we started doing business together. Tara, what I'm trying to share with you today is, actually, I talked about me, but I didn't talk about you. So why don't is it okay if I hear a little bit about everybody's background, just to kind of hear? Asokji, how do we do this? Can I unmute people, or can they unmute them as they speak, or?
They can do by themselves, yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to hear everybody's background. So we have a small enough group that I would like to know maybe what people's backgrounds are and what line of work they're in.
Yeah. Maybe we can start from Johnny. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So about me, I am a software engineer. I work for a company called Veritas Technologies LLC, but I am also interested in, in future, I would like to see how the leadership roles or management roles would be. So I would like to experience that as well.
Okay. Okay. Sureshji, anything on your? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Suresh Pokhrel, and I'm a PhD student. I'm doing PhD in computer science at Michigan Tech, and I did my bachelor and master's in computer science. So I'm interested in software engineering and artificial intelligence and machine learning, these things.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, go ahead.
Next.
Next, ma ko hunनुहुन्छ?
म भन्छु Nira from Oklahoma, educational background, MBA with supply chain management major, and now working as a quality analyst.
Quality analyst. Okay, got it. Quality. Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to advancing in project management.
Okay. How about Sudan and Dipendra?
Yes, sir. Do you want to go ahead? Go ahead. It's Sudan and I'm Dipendra, so I would let him speak a little bit.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Sudan, also known as Sauzi.
Sauzi?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's his nickname, yeah.
I graduated from the Hard Knocks University, AKA didn't go to school. I was age 19, very fascinated about business, and I started as soon as I could, and God's been very great.
Okay.
So Sudan, I work with Sudan. So Sudan is an health expert agent, and I work for property and casualty, which means car, home.
Oh, okay. Insurance.
So
Insurance, yeah.
I'm also from IT background, but I wanted to change my field, and I'm enjoying my work right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else that hasn't, maybe there's two or
Yeah.
three people, maybe just get a, so we have insurance, we have software, we have supply chain.
Hi, this is Robin, and I'm also an IT group, I guess. Got a degree in computer science, bachelor's, and currently working in Veritas Technologies as well as a software engineer in a DevOps team. And I'm more fascinated in machine learning algorithms and general algorithm.
Okay.
MSc.
Same as John.
Dilip.
Oh, Dilip.
Hi, this is Dilip. In terms of background, I did my computer science, bachelor's degree in computer science, and computer has been fascinating to me because it's simple. So I'm currently working as software developer, a software engineer in a banking sector. So basically, I have worked in banking sector since Nepal, and that has been continued.
Okay.
Very good.
So does, I mean, from the perspective of maybe the title, project delivery and strategic management, I think maybe the things that I'll be talking about may not directly, because project management as a term has a lot of meanings in a lot of different industries, right? Construction has project management, but that's not the same project management as, say, software project management or IT project management or anything like that. So project management for us in our industry in digital marketing is really about, the projects are not long. So it's typically the project is maybe 3 to 4 months long. I don't know if that's long or short, but for us, it's not very long. So we do, there are people in our industry that are moving towards some of those fancy terms, jiu-jitsu and some of the other ones that you hear about. What are some other project management terms? There's the 2-week sprint things and things like that. We are trying to implement some of those things, but we just don't have the length of project to do it. It's almost like we're done in 4 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. So project sprints and things like that, we are trying to implement them, but not to the same degree that other industries would. The presentation today is mostly about the opportunity. I tried to take advantage of this opportunity in terms of outsourcing. So I think I mentioned that when I started the business in 2012 with my wife, we initially sent all of our work, the actual coding, the actual development to Kathmandu, to my friend's company. And then, so I learned a lot in that process. I learned a lot, and there's a lot of people doing it still. But I learned a lot, and I want to share that with you in the challenges section. But I want to at least go over the opportunity, because I think we have, as people living in the US, we have an opportunity to influence, or at least contribute in our own way with business and the economy back home. And I think most Nepalese people I talk to have a genuine desire in their hearts to do something, right, to help. And so I think this business, IT sector, machine learning, even machine learning, artificial intelligence has big opportunities in Nepal. So I will give so what I see the opportunities as, and then I also give you, from my experience working on this side, what the view from the US side is. And then also having worked with the company from Kathmandu for many years, what is the view from the Nepal side? You know, what are the challenges they have? And then at the end of the day, for us, all of our customers were American companies. We do B2B. So what are the challenges that we came across? And what did we learn from this whole experience? Because I think sometimes you read about, you know, big ideas and big things, but sometimes there's really a lot of kind of like what I think Sudan was saying about school of hard knocks, right? You learn things. You learn more outside of school than you do in school, right? And I think, you know, I didn't learn any of this in school. There's no way you can teach all this in school. This is stuff you learn as you go along in life. And you have a different perspective when you own a business versus being an employee. So the opportunity is this kind of outsourcing allows local businesses in Nepal to tap into the most advanced world economy, right? So the terminologies that we're using, artificial intelligence, machine learning, digital marketing, Six Sigma quality, or whatever are very advanced terms. Those terms are meaningless to the average Nepali person on the street, right? So, but there is a layer of people in Kathmandu and in Nepal who are very educated, who need to tap into the world economy so that they can, you know, they can help the general economy, so that they can create jobs. And then there is the entrepreneurial endeavor. This is where it gets a little spiritual for me, because it says that God created the world, right? God created everything. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I believe that when he created everything, he made us co-creators, because we participate in the co-creation of a lot of things, like even other humans, right? If you're a parent, you're a co-creator with God. And I think this is where the entrepreneurial energy for Christians must come from, is from this idea that God has made us creators. We can create ideas. We can create businesses. We can create thought processes that can change the world, right? And I'm a big believer in that. So there's entrepreneurial endeavor. And I think the church in Nepal needs that kind of encouragement, and they need people on this side to help bridge that gap. And then obviously, at the end of the day, well, maybe not at the end of the day, but I'm running a business, right? I have to pay my employees, I have to pay taxes, I have to pay my vendors, I have to keep a profit, and I have to feed my family. At the end of the day, there are financial decisions that I have to make. So if you look at all of these things, there is a clear opportunity. And what is interesting to me is, if you don't see the opportunity, if you don't want to see the opportunity, you will not see the opportunity. But if you want to see the opportunity, you will see the opportunity. It's very interesting how opportunity is. You know, I read a quote many years ago that said, opportunity knocks once, right? It doesn't leave a message, and it doesn't come back again. If you got the message. So in whatever field you are working in, look for the opportunity. And if you look and pray, I believe in prayer, God will show you the opportunity. Okay? So with that in mind, what I wanted to share with you is there are clear benefits to, if you start a company here doing some kind of IT service or some kind of a product that you can sell to the local economy here, the wage difference is stunning. It is absolutely mind-boggling. The difference in wages, like a developer, at least in my industry, a good developer can cost, entry-level developer can cost anywhere between 90,000 per year to 125,000 per year, depending on what skill sets you're looking for. Plus, you have to give benefits, right? So as a business owner, there's the cost of the benefits, because it's about, you have to pay Social Security taxes on the employee, you have to pay local taxes, you have to pay payroll insurance to the local, you have to buy insurance for your employees. So if you pay them $100,000, you have to add another 19 to 22% on top of that for payroll costs for that employee. So as an employer, you're already, that 100,000 employee already costs $119,000, right? I'm just giving you an example. Now, for the same type of work, you're looking at maybe 25% of that. So you have a huge margin there, 75% margin that you could really tap into. So there is clear benefits from a cost perspective, right? But that wasn't the only thing that we were looking at. Cost benefit is one thing, but the other benefit is time benefit too. If you have, let's say you have one team member working on the US side, and then you have another team member working on the Nepal side, you get an extra 8 hours on that same 24-hour cycle. So this guy codes and does the project this far, and we use project management systems like Asana and Slack. So there's no reason why the person couldn't take over in Nepal when it's 8 o'clock in the morning in Nepal, right? You're signing off here, you're getting over there. So by the time the guy comes back to work in the US, a lot of the work could already be done, and then there's efficiencies there. And then there's also, there's also different ways of thinking about it, right? So the Nepalese engineers, technicians might think of it a little differently, might come to the problem with a different solution, different mindset, different perspective, different something, right? So those are the benefits that you have on this side. But there's also cost. This is something that I learned. Is there's benefits, but I also learned that there's cost, there's hidden costs. There are new processes that you have to put in place now with somebody that is out. Maybe the problem is solved a little bit more because 10 years ago, Zoom and things like that were not that prevalent, so you couldn't do these types of calls. Now, I have a project partner in India. We don't do work in Nepal anymore, different story, different for another time, but in India, the people we work with, we can get on Zoom and things like that. So that kind of maybe has changed a little bit, but you do have to build in processes. You have to build in checks and balances. You have to build in milestones. You have to build in different things in your normal process here that you have to now build in when you outsource. There's personnel and cultural issues, which comes up a lot. I ran into this too many times. I think that the Nepalese mindset is very different. We all know this, right? And in business culture, it's very different. It's even more different, I think. My challenge was, I came to the United States almost 30 years ago. So I don't have any work experience in the Nepalese office. I don't know how it's done. I don't know how it functions. I don't know how people refer to bosses. I don't know how bosses treat their employees. I don't know how the time off work culture works. I don't know how the tea culture works. I don't know how that culture works, right? So I am thoroughly Americanized in terms of work culture. I have no basis for understanding how it works. We ran into this too many times, right? And so you have to account for that. It becomes a cost to the US side. So that 75% margin that I was telling you about, is not 75% anymore when you factor these costs in. Holidays and time off is another factor that comes into play, right? And we all know this. Work culture is another thing. Sometimes people show up, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people have 3-day wedding ceremonies, sometimes they don't. So there's things like that that would come up a little too much for my comfort level here, just because it was, you know, you're excited about that 75% margin that you now have on your project. But then when you start to add in the process, cultural issues, the holiday time off, the work culture and things like that, it starts to eat into that margin. So once it starts to eat into that margin, that big wage gap is not as attractive as it was before. It's still attractive, but it's not as attractive as before. Now, there's also cost to the US client in terms of relationships, because I think I covered this a little bit. Maybe this is a redundant side, but cost to the US client, meaning the customer here, right? What I notice is, now here's the other thing, is that I'm not doing this at scale, like maybe Infosys or Microsoft or PayPal or Google. You know, Google, those guys are implementing this at a scale that is beyond my ability. We're talking about working with a small office in Kathmandu that maybe has 15 engineers, 20 engineers, right? And we're talking about an office here in the US that I have 8 full-time employees, right? So we're talking about very small offices. We're not talking about Microsoft opening up partnering with Infosys, thousands of employees. So what I notice is that it becomes a little bit of a challenge when the local staff here who deals with the US client is not able to tap into the resource in Nepal during US business hours. That strained our relationship with our client. What happened is our client is expected, so let's say we did a new website launch, right? So we did a big new website launch. This happened to me. We did a big e-commerce website launch in 2014. And the client is really excited. We had a new payment system integrated with their POS. Everything was set up. Everything was launched. All the tests were good and things like that. But on the day that we launched, this is our inexperience, right? Hindsight is 2020. The staff, we should have done it at a time or asked the staff in Nepal to be available. Nobody was available. Everybody was gone. So when things were happening here, we were running into some issues during the launch time, and the developer here couldn't figure out what the developer there had done. It was really hard to understand. The notes were not understandable. The project descriptions were not the same. The language was a little different. So it became very problematic. And so we ran into a lot of that kind of issue when we launched websites. So we had to build in processes, additional layers of QA, additional layers of test. Somebody in Kathmandu had to stay up during some of these times. So again, that 75% margin is now getting smaller and smaller, right? Because of the additional cost that you now have to absorb on this side. But not all is lost. You know, I don't want to just show you the negative side. There's a lot of benefits, especially to the Nepalese provider, right? I mean, you're talking about people that, you know, that need clients. Every business needs clients. So they're getting a client. That's exciting. There's a learning opportunity for the engineers and the people on the Nepalese side, project managers, business owners. There's opportunity for knowledge transfer. Again, jobs, opportunities. So there's a lot of benefits there. Oh wait, cost to the Nepalese. Okay, this is not the right slide. So I think the cost on the Nepalese side is a little bit infrastructure. I didn't update this slide. This must be an earlier version. They have to invest in infrastructure on their end. They have to have the best, at least in 2012 to 2015, when I was working with the partnership, load shedding was a problem in Kathmandu at that time, right? So they had to get extra generators. They had to get extra laptops, extra, you know, just in case they needed, you know, there's a cost on that side too, right? They have to invest in the infrastructure, lighting, staff, project management software. There's all this stuff that you have to get in there so that you can get your people documentation of processes, because some people have a high turnover rate. And so you need to have that. So there's cost to the Nepalese provider too. But the main issues, right? I highly recommend, if you guys are software engineers and you have an opportunity to start your business, or you have an opportunity to bring in a provider from Kathmandu, bring them in. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think we owe it to our country to bring these relationships together. But here's the thing that I think we need to kind of focus on. And I think maybe this is because of our education system, the way we think. The main problem, and one of the main reasons why I stopped working with, or I was not, my friend stole the company, new management, cost structure didn't work out. So we abandoned that partnership. And so I was looking for new opportunities in Kathmandu, and I interviewed 2 or 3 other providers in Kathmandu. The main problem I found is lack of creative thinking. I think that our education system promotes memorization, following, doing what you're told, just not ruffling feathers, you know. But what the clients here are looking for is creative thinking, right? If you can come up with a better way to do it, or a more clever way to do it, especially in marketing. You know, we are building websites. We can't build the same website every single time. We have to be creative the way we do it, and we also have to solve problems creatively, right? And that was a big miss. Like, we would ask our engineers back home, what do you think? What do you think we should do? Or what do you think is a good solution for this? Because we're out of ideas here. And I will tell you, we never got a response that was satisfactory. It was just very wishy-washy. There was no, I mean, it was almost like they were surprised that it's almost like, you know, like a chef. I don't know a good analogy for this, but it was almost like they weren't expecting that question. There's a, what do you mean? What do you think? You're the thinker. You think, tell me what to do. You know, that was a big problem. And then they're not thinking in terms of value. They're just thinking in terms of cost. You know, I mean, sometimes I'll go back to like a lot of times when we talk to our clients, we think in terms of value, not just cost. I mean, one of my mentors, business mentors, a long time ago asked me this question. He said, Shailesh, if our team comes up with a logo idea in the shower and it only takes him 15 minutes, do I bill him for 15 minutes? Or do I bill him for the value of that logo, which could be thousands of dollars? Right? And that analogy has always stuck with me. And I think this is where a lot of the IT providers in Kathmandu really are not thinking along those lines. You know, cost savings is one thing, but I think if you can provide a value here, I think you could earn a lot more money. Right? And then the third issue that we constantly came to problems with the people that we're evaluating is craftsmanship. You know, there's a Bible verse in Ephesians that said we are God's craftsmanship, right? You are God's craftsmanship. If you look at God's craftsmanship is amazing. It is the detail, the attention to detail, the attention to structure, the attention to form, the attention to symmetry, the attention to color balance, you know, things like that. Because we're marketing and that is very important in our field, we were not able to find that at all. I mean, even the code that came back would work, but then the next WordPress update would break it, would break half the plugins, right? It's like I would scratch my head going, man, what is this? And then we asked them, and then they would say, well, it worked in version 2.9. We didn't really build it for version 2.10 or whatever. So then they send me an invoice for fixing it. So now that 75% margin is now a lot smaller, right? So do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So the lack of attention to detail and the focus on quality and craftsmanship, in my opinion, is one of the major things that we need to work on as a culture, you know, as a people. I think we need to realize that we cannot, you know, there is a, and that's where innovation comes in too. Is like, it's kind of like, you know, it's just like the innovative thinking, you know, that is just, I mean, I don't know, there's different ways of doing things. There are different ways of writing code. My physics professor back in the day when I was a physics student, this seems like a long time ago, when we used to program in Pascal. I don't know if anybody's problem, you know, Pascal, right? This is a long time ago now. He used to tell me, Shailesh, there's coding and then there's elegant coding. You know, you can code, but can you code elegantly? Meaning, can you come up with an elegant solution? He said, because in physics, when you study physics, you'll realize that God is very elegant. Look at how elegant E equals MC squared is. It's a very elegant equation. Even a little child can say it, but it explains the relationship between energy and mass, right? It's very elegant the way that it's structured. And so that's what I went to a Christian college. So he used to give me those kind of analogies. And that has also stuck with me is we want to do our work, but we want to do it with craftsmanship and we want to do it in elegance because that is our creator. And that's where, you know, being a Christian business owner isn't just about having a Bible study, right? It's also about allowing these spiritual things to come into you so you can be inspired by it and you can diffuse that into the world. You know, so if we can write elegant code and we can come up with elegant solutions to problems and we can solve AI issues with great craftsmanship and we can approach machine learning with elegance, you know, I think that'll unlock opportunities for businesses in Nepal, Christian businesses in Nepal, right? And then the other thing was solutions and support. That was more, I think, an issue of just the infrastructure at the time for us. It was just very hard. The response culture, you know, even if you write urgent in the message box, you didn't hear back for a couple of days, you know. You know, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe we got them on Friday afternoon or something like that. But that was our miss on our end because my company is built on we value, our core value is ownership. All of our employees must have this sense of ownership. You know, they're not renting a paycheck, they're owning the company, right? There's a big difference. So when your core value is ownership, that means you take care of everything anytime, however it arises, right? And the customer feels it. The customer feels it when they're talking to you on the phone. Oh man, this person really owns it. They won't let anything go by. And so you need your vendor or your partner on the other side to have the same values, you know, and that's very important. And that's why, to me, it's exciting that we can have maybe Christian vendors and partners in Kathmandu and in Nepal who have similar values of ownership that we can work with, you know, because when it comes to solving a customer's problem, you know, if a plugin stops to work and it's a payment processing plugin, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. You have to go fix it. You know, you can't not respond to it, you know, and you can't worry about the cost at that time, at least for us. We fix it and then we work out the cost later on because that relationship is very important, right? And then some of the issues that I think that maybe it's becoming less and less so as people become involved, but I think the cultural element was difficult for me to navigate as well because I did not understand the business culture there. And having spent most of my life here, I'm very comfortable with the business culture here. But one thing that was very frustrating was so here, you know, if I explain something to an employee and they don't understand it, they will ask me, raise their hand and say, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you please repeat yourself? Now, I don't know if that's allowed or disallowed in the work culture in Nepal, but we would explain project requirements in quite detail, very few questions, and nobody ever said, can you please clarify this? Maybe one or two. And then I would say, does everybody understand? And everybody would nod their head. And then 2 weeks later, when it comes back, I was like, oh man, what did I miss? What did I miss? I mean, what did I not explain? You know? So that was becoming a challenge in terms of, then it became an issue of document everything, but really this culture of asking your partner questions, you know, asking your vendor questions, asking your boss questions, asking your supervisor questions, asking your instructor questions, challenging them and saying, is that really the best way to do it? That's part of the innovative culture in the United States that I think is lacking in Nepal. And that's part of the issues, I think, of getting these partnerships to work. So for me, those are the main issues that I came up with. I mean, again, I'm not trying to say it's all negative, but what I'm trying to say is it can work, and we have made it work with our Indian partner. Maybe it's because I learned all these things with our Nepalese partners, but I am still on the lookout for a good partner in Nepal. I'm going back next month. I'll always be meeting people to see what kind of partnerships we can get. I feel like we as a company here, we've grown a lot. We have our own processes in place now. We have really come a long ways from 5-10 years ago. So we're a different company here as well. But we have all this learning now, how to make a partnership work. And I would like to use it at some point as well. So anyway, so that is kind of, you know, so, and to go back to the headline of I don't want to make it sound like this is a bait and switch, but the reason why we titled it Project Delivery and Strategic Management is because at the end of the day, in order for the partnership to work, you have to deliver. Both sides have to deliver, right, on their end. And then both sides have to be strategic in the way in which they manage the project and the way in which they interact with each other. And I think the things that I've learned, I think will help people that are maybe considering doing these kind of projects in the future. So that's Ashokji. I think we talked about, you know, just ending today, but that is pretty much what I have. I am curious to hear from the audience in terms of what they learned, what they've done, maybe things that maybe I didn't do well, or maybe I would like to learn from your experiences as well. So if you want to share, I would love to hear.
I can share something like I can hear you clearly in terms of management. You are speaking from management, and I like see that same management style. There are a couple of things that I don't like about like those things. They when you call an employer owner, most of the time you just want him to work like 24/7, as you said, like, it does not matter what time of the day. I think that's like, at least as a developer, I'm not, I have my own life, my social life, my family, and all those things. I have told the same thing to my manager as well. Like, no, I'm not going to work like whenever you want me to work. There's designated time. I think that's should be respected. But also I created the software. So when in need, I'll be there. But like having the mindset, like, no, you need to be, I cannot cope with that. Like you have the mindset. You don't think like you need to ask me, or you need to ask for my uh, my intention about it. Like I see this a lot in my team, or and I have always spoke about it. Like, no, I'm not going to work whenever you want me to work, because I'm missing my time with my friends and all those things. And I completely agree with the mindset and all those things. We don't ask questions. And then we miss a project because after 2 weeks, right? We spend 2 weeks of time and we come out with nothing. And the solution can be like 2 hours of work, but we just used 2 weeks doing nothing. So I understand. I can see this. Well, I don't know if this is like a cultural thing. I don't want to say it, but that's what I see in like Indian and Nepali people. or Asian people who has that mentality, they are fine, like being off time and all those things. Like as you are, I'm also accustomed to like the way of working here, like on time and delivering on time and those things. So like I always have problem with management because they give out like all the good words, like it encourages me, but the implementation is like zero. I I have literally told my lead, like, don't tell me thank you in email, because I have worked like extra hours. Ask me to take off. That's like more important than like just saying thank you. I know you have work off hours, so many hours. Like, what am I going to do with like that thank you, right? Like I have like work extra hours, put in like extra time. You ask me like there's no work some of the time, and you still want me to stare at the computer. It doesn't make sense to me. So like I
But
think
sounds like you have management issues. I mean, here's how I would answer your questions, okay? Or your feedback. Give you some feedback. One is we don't expect our people to work 24/7. I'm not. I hope I didn't give that impression. It's just that we have to have a process and a system to account for when things go wrong. That's what I was trying to say. And then the second thing is, in our company, I mean, we're small, right? So in our performance review, every year I do a performance review for everybody on my team. And in that performance review, I ask them, what do you value? Time, money, gift certificate, chocolate cake? What do you value? What is important to you, right? And there's one guy on my team, he loves basketball, right? And he lives in Arizona. So when he does something really amazing, I send him 2 basketball tickets. And those are not for an employer, that is not that expensive. He is so excited and motivated when he gets those 2 basketball tickets because he loves to go to a game, right? He goes with his girlfriend. So I think, Dilip, I think what you're saying, I hear you. I think it's just some management people maybe are not under big companies or what, it's just something you have to really be strategic about. Anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. I want to hear you.
no, I'm just saying like I hear you, like the mindset, but like lots of times there's this gap, like we are not understanding each other. Like, okay, this guy says like he'll do like all the good things, but I don't see it. Like and maybe it's the same thing. The leads are like, well, this guy is actually good, but his work is not efficient. He's not there when he's needed, kind of thing. So I'm just putting that out.
Okay, good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. One thing I was just trying to clarify to everybody in the screen that Shailesh gave a lot of example as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. But many of us, even though many of us, but like Dipendra, Surendra, Sudan, I think they are business owners. But many of us work here as employee. But we manage project. Many of us, we did half of our education experience in Nepal. The other half is happening here. We are neither there nor here, in between. And then in IT world, especially, some of you said that you don't even have to speak English. If you speak in Hindi, that's already enough. So so that kind of environment, I think some of those things, I think even though we are employees, I think it gives some ideas for us, as a to look on ourselves, at the same time how we look onto others, and then where there is a problem, something like that. So I hope that is helpful. Yeah, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, living in Nepal and also knowing some friends who work for overseas here, I think एउटा कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भने एउटा the work culture is different. I agree. I know उहाँले भन्नुभएको जस्तै I had a friend who used to outsource to Nepal, but he later moved on to Ukraine. And I work with Ukrainians these days. Goodness, they work like 24/7. If you want somebody who really wants to work hard, I think Ukrainians are the best. Ukrainians, they work so hard. I'm like, they're in the midst of a war. Yeah. But every morning we say, hey, how are you doing? I say, oh, everything's good. We're working, So they are just tough. And I don't see they're taking in time off or anything. They work more than 8 hours. They probably work 10, 12, 15 hours a day. So I don't know the costs. But also one thing in Nepal, एउटा गाह्रो चाहिँ के रहेछ भने म मान्छेहरुसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ उताबाट क्लायन्टले यति पढाउँछ हामीलाई यति दिन्छ भने त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ हुन्छ नि I'm like there's a little bit of हुन्छ नि I'm like they're making a lot of money compared, but like there's just like
Giving so little, right?
I'm like they're still getting money, but they still compared to like हामीलाई उता यति चार्ज गर्छ यति बिल गर्छ अनि हामीलाई चाहिँ यति दिन्छ भने चाहिँ हुन्छ नि. So I think that probably you know about that, right?
Yeah,
but I mean
I get that a lot. किनभने चाहिँ well, that's the other thing is raises, man. You work with them for 6 months and all of a sudden the contract renegotiation or raises 10%, 15%, because they know they can go to Indeed.com and they can see, go to salary.com and you can do a comparison right there.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason why we're sending them work. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
That's a very wrong mindset. I have nephews who work for US companies out of Kathmandu, and they talk like that too. And I try to tell them, look, that's not the way you should think.
Yeah. And I think that's not the way they should think. But that's what they were thinking. Like, I'm like, it's a business. Nobody's gonna pay you what they receive, right? I mean, if that's the case, then they would just hire somebody right there, right? So yeah. But that's the mentality here, yeah.
Like for instance, my US developers know how much our billing rate is. We bill at $150 an hour, right? As a company. That I can't pay them $150 an hour, right? I mean, a lot of companies. So they know that too. I'm billing the client that, but I have to cover cost of equipment, cost of healthcare, all that stuff comes out.
Insurance, tax, everything,
Tax, everything. And then there might be 3 people on the project, not, so anyway, I think.
Yeah. But I think it's getting better. I think since the last time you worked, I guess, right? You said you worked until 2015 or something, I know. So I think I see the culture here is developing. The load shedding's gone. More and more, a lot of young generations are used to working on Seni with a lot of companies, and there's this Upwork going on. Upwork so freelancing.
Yeah.
A lot of freelancers around. So yeah. I think there's a future in Nepal. But again, there's cultural challenges, like you said. Delivery is the best.
Actually, very difficult, because one of the big reasons why, anyway, the ownership changed. My friend sold his business. So that became a challenge for me, because I had a good relationship with him. And he was always very supportive of everything we said and did, because he also worked here. The new people didn't really have that understanding. But the cultural challenges to what I said was this lack of attention to detail was a big problem for us.
Yeah.
Because QA became, then we had to QA everything that came from there. I know they would say the project is done, and then we go and check it, run it in 4 different scenarios, and it breaks in 1. I was like, well, that's not supposed to be, that's 25% error rate. That's not very good at all, right? You have to deliver at least 90%, at least maybe 5% is tolerable, but 25% is not tolerable. So it became a problem. And then as we do a lot of development for WordPress, so plugins, security, every update was I would get nervous. By 2016, I was nervous every time a WordPress update came, because I didn't know. I mean, is this going to break or is this not going to break?
I think WordPress is still same. Like I initially started working there with the PHP and all those things, like that have never been like, it always had issue like upgrades. The way they write software with PHP is very different than the enterprise applications. Like web application is very different. Like I work for a bank. Like we cannot have a software that breaks when we update something, because like it costs like millions of dollars to them, and and they spend money too. So like I understand the web development is a bit different, and most probably that what you said, attention to detail, right? Because it's just like web application and nobody's losing. It just makes clients unhappy, but they are not losing so much money. So I think that's the tendency to it.
But I mean, on the positive side, I think, you know, there's a lot of positives too. I know I shared a lot of negatives, but the positive side was, when it was working, it actually worked really well when I was involved, because I could translate back and forth, you know, everything was happening, and our designer and the developer there were getting along pretty well. We did knock out quite a few projects pretty seamlessly. But when the project scope started to become bigger, and as our company grew and we added more people on our team, part of it is our processes were not buttoned up. So that was part of the problem. As you're growing, you know, you don't always have things figured out. We still don't have things figured out, but so I think it can work with the right vendors. I think with the right partnership, I think you can make it work. Part of it has been, you know, it's very difficult to, when I'm in Nepal, I'm only there for a certain amount of time, vetting people, understanding who they are, getting an idea for their client base, strengths, weaknesses, you know, technology infrastructure. It's challenging. It takes a lot of time to get that going. So, and then you don't want to trust, you have big projects here, for us at least, and all of a sudden giving it to somebody that you don't have that relationship with is challenging. So that's part of the issue. And I think my impression is the Indian engineers in Southern India that have worked with maybe larger companies for many years. This one fellow that I have, he's actually a Christian guy. He's in Madras, and he used to work for a big company in Delhi for many years. He came back down to be home with his family. So I outsource a lot of work to him, and he's fantastic. And he understands a lot of things that, you know, some of the engineers I worked with before. So maybe things are changing. I don't know, but I think it is something that I think we, as people that are living here and we want to contribute to Nepal, we want to help Nepal, this is one very, very good way to do it. I would encourage you to figure out a way to make it happen. And I'm only here to share my experience so that you can do it better, not to discourage you, but so that you can do it better, you know? So if that's the direction you want to go.
I have a question, and maybe others also have questions, that you talk about the employees feeling the ownership of the company. They are not just there to get paid, but they feel this is part of their company, and then they need to give best there. So, and then many of us here are employees, you know, as an employee, do we feel that kind of ownership in the place we are working now? If we don't feel, what would you make it for you to feel that you have the ownership of that company? So I would like to just, because the reason is that for me, that's very important. Even though I do work in a nonprofit field.
In Colossians, it says, do everything as you're doing unto God, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That is ownership.
Yeah, so I would just like to ask everyone, you know, do you feel?
Well, it sounds
kind of
great. It's a good philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, to have that owner. Employee will never feel that.
No.
You know, one of the things that and as I've been doing business for the last 22 years, and one thing I've always understood this is no matter what you do, and the same thing, you know, Shailesh was talking about, you know, how it doesn't matter what amount of dollar that you would give a person, like they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick because they're not getting the same amount of money as a person would have gotten here. The thing is, they also don't have as much of a responsibility, like income tax and insurance and all that, when you take something out there. Now, I don't understand the justification of taking the you know, work outside the country. You know, I mean, you're saying that well, you know, you're helping Nepal, but the thing is, at the same point in time, I've always had you know, when I have hired people, I've never ever considered them, you know, whether they have a work permit or not, they get paid the same. You know, whether they're here legally, they're not here legally. I mean, I'm not going to go into, and I'm not going to disclose most of it, but to me, a person is worth what they work. And if they work hard, to me, they're just as much you know, worth it to keep it, you know, because the work is a work no matter who does it, no matter what part of the world that you do it from. So I always give them what they're worth, because as the Bible is very clear, a worker is, you know, they have earned it. they have earned their work, so their worth is always determined by how they work. So as far as feeling ownership, I have in my work, I've always encouraged them, as far as doing above and beyond, whether it's giving them a small break or whether it's, buying them lunches or giving them extra bonuses and stuff like that. No matter what you do, no matter how you do it, it doesn't matter. There's 100 ways to skin this cat, but I'll tell you one thing for sure. The employee will never feel an ownership to that, because to wear that hat, it's a lot more than just feeling it. There are things that you have to deal with. And in the last 20 years of doing it and being in the business, no matter how much I paid the employee, at the end of the day, they will always find a grass greener somewhere else. So, I mean, you can try, but feeling ownership, unless you write in a dotted line, from today, you own 20% of the company. That's about the only time you will ever see an employee feeling ownership, because when they actually see a dotted line. And there is a company out there, and which I'm actually trying to do that. This is a greenhouse company out in, I believe, don't get me lying on the state, but the principle of the story over here is everybody who works in that greenhouse, everybody owns 2% to a 10% of the profit share. So that's what we do in our company. At the end of the day, the main profit, we take the 20% of the main profit. So before the owner even takes anything, we take the 20% of the main profit in a bucket, and then we share amongst the top 10% of the agent that has brought the most money. So that is one of the way of feeling the ownership, is giving the profit share, but it's based on your work. So the more you bring in, the bigger the pot is, and the higher the chances you get something. So now you get a little piece of the pie, and I've seen, not in this company.
Muted.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Now, I have not seen it over here, but in an eventuality of it, I believe it's going to happen. A person can take home as much as $100,000 to $200,000 in bonus money. Because the first year we did that, the pot was over almost $150,000, and there were 10 of us that was able to share that pot. Okay, and every year it has doubled. So, and eventually, it's and that's a one way of seeing. With the only other way of feeling the ownership without signing a dotted line, give them a profit share. But at the end of the day, the money talks.
Yeah, that's good.
Money has found a way, a mouth to talk, man, and you can make it talk the way you want it, and you just got to delegate it how it's supposed to. And, I mean, it is what it is, but I can understand, Shailesh, and I do appreciate your time. Work ethic back home and here is completely different. I came here when I was 19 years old, and I've been doing business for the last 22 years, and 20 years, and I've never understood the Eastern way of doing business. The Western ways is so much different, but in the last 3 years, I've had so many Nepali communities that had grown here in Dallas area. I didn't understand when they're coming into my office and wanting to get service, I didn't understand their ways of asking the things. And I was spellbound, like, why don't they come out and tell me straight up what they wanted? Why they have to go around beating around the bush? Like, I don't get it. Just tell me, just ask me, and then I'll do it for you. And then Dipendra over here, you're like, you don't understand. Heck, I didn't even speak Nepali. He's my teacher. He's my guru. So he taught me how to speak Nepali.
Great partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been speaking Nepali for about 5 years is when I really began to speak Nepali. People used to come over here. It's so funny. Like, first of all, they never even knew that I was Nepali to begin with. They would not ever guess that I was Nepali and that I would never speak Nepali. I went to church one day for almost 4 months. This Bhauju didn't speak to me at all. Vijay, that was Mithu Bhauju. And then one day, I said something in Nepali and she's like, "You're Nepali?" I'm like, yes. They're like, "I thought you were some type of Marty or something. That's why I never spoke to you." But anyway, going back, I'm not going to take any more time. What I'm basically just saying that, Shailesh, you said something about insurance earlier. Well, we do insurance over here in business. So next time when you're talking about insurance, give us a shout.
I will.
There you go.
Because depending over here. Now, I probably won't be able to help you much because I'm in only health and life sector. Now, unless you want to provide a health insurance for your, people. But this guy over here, he does all the property, does all the business, and keep in the family. He'll definitely take care of you.
For sure.
Thank you. Because you said you have to provide the insurance. So I'm just taking it for your word.
No, I do. I already have vendors in place, but we reevaluate every year, so you never know.
Well, evaluate with them.
Yeah, how about others? I think others have questions. Maybe Suresh, Johnny, Arpan, Sheila.
Not a question, but I want to go with what Ashok Dai asked. I think, I don't know, it may be different for everybody, but I don't go by the money thing. Ownership is not money to me because I craft software and that's my pride. But I haven't, to be frank, I haven't been as diligent as the first work I did here. When I was paid the least, that was $13, and I worked for a Bible translation company. When I created that software, like, I have never felt good in my entire software career creating that, because the impact it had to people all around the world when it was taken to like different places where Bible was not there in their own language. The Bible was translated in like every language possible. There were like languages which did not even have scripts. Like when I could hear the testimonies from people who went to missions and came back, like, I have never been proud of my skill so far than that one, and I was paid the least. So but yeah, later now I get paid decent, but it's the same thing. Like, I feel like I do not put that much heart into it because well, they pay me. I work as much as they pay me. They can pay me more, then I will work more. But I think like it depends on what you're doing and the essence of the work you are doing. Now you're just working, but when I did work for the translation company, like, I did not just work. It was like something I was proud of.
Yeah, very good point, Dilip bhai. I agree. I think earlier we were talking, Shailesh, I think value, number one, what do we value in our life? And then what do we think of our value?
Well, I mean, Dilip, all he did was proved Shailesh, comment earlier is the reward. The reward comes in many forms, whether it is a self-satisfaction of doing what you do, or sometimes it is a dollar amount. And Shailesh had said that this guy that, goes to that Knicks game, sorry, not Knicks. What's that?
Phoenix Suns.
Suns, yeah.
Basketball.
Not Knicks. That's the Suns game. To him, I mean, that's what did him. His obsession was is a basketball, and he was able to pinpoint. And as a business owner, I think it's very important to understand our workers and know, because see, we all have a selling point. We all sell out somewhere, whether it's is a good feeling or the Suns ticket, or just to somebody, it's just money, you know. But I think we all like approval of people, you know, because it's in our nature. And a good employer always understands that, knows that the pivotal point, that knows that point, you know, where it moves their employees. That a good employer will always know that, they will understand it, and they're in the, and once you have earned their heart, once they have earned their, then you will definitely earn. And I know for that for fact, once you earn their heart, you also earn their you know, their loyalty. And once they're loyal to you, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, not unless you just screw up big time. I mean, I mean, with, you know, I can attest to it, you know. But it's just, and you're right, absolutely right, Dilip. It's a reward is what we always look for. And as and I'll encourage and everyone over here, you know, to, you know, either whether you want to be a future employer, and understand that, you know, you do value people, value those people, because they are brothers, they are sisters, mother, father of some source of somewhere, and then they're a decent human being, and they need to live, and give them a good you know, ways to where they can live. And, you know, I've seen people where they're working, and Dilip was talking about that he was getting paid the least, but it was his heart, you know, what mattered him the most, because of what happened, the result that it, you know, it brought on. And we all are hungry of that. And we always, every day in some shape or form, we're looking for in an approval. I mean, is it the right thing? I mean, as a human being, that's our default. But, you know, if we understand that, you know, we are righteousness of God, and understand that, and that's what happened to me about 3 years ago, is when my business took off, and I have quadrupled my, you know, in terms of the income and all that, is because I understood who I was in Christ. I understood that I am just good enough. I don't need to please nobody. That God is happy of who I am, and He is completely, glad that I am who I am in His. And I understood that I had to, you know, I was always a person that always pleasing other people. I know I'm sorry, maybe it's kind of getting off topic a little bit, but sometimes I can get a little sensitive about this type of stuff. But going back to Dilip, absolutely, reward is something that you look for, and that's awesome. I'm glad that you were a part of that. A lot of people got to read the Bible and study it in their language. I mean, I cannot, you know, I cannot speak, you know, more highly than what you already have felt. It's awesome. Good job, Dilip. Proud of you.
Suresh bhai, and any last minute questions or comments?
I enjoy these meetings, so thank you for having me here, Ashokji.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Is there any question left? So I think we are running out of time. So I want to thank Shailesh Dai for this awesome presentation and sharing experiences. And also I want to thank everyone, Sudan brother and Dilip and everyone for this discussion. So if there is any question, we can still discuss sometime, and if not, I would like to wrap up the meeting today. Ashok केही छ?
छैन.
कसैको के क्वेसन छ? Joni bhai, you have any comments? Joni is very quiet.
हजुर, एकदम राम्रो लाग्यो. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And we don't have any experience, but just to hear from somebody who has worked so many years, or who has spent so many years in this field, gives us hope and confidence, you know, that the future is full of opportunities, and we will try our best to grab those opportunities. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
क्वेसन छैन भने एउटा अनाउन्समेन्ट छ मेरो है मे 3 मा हाम्रो एनएससीएसपी हेल्थ केयर ग्रुपले स्पोन्सर गरेको एउटा इभेन्ट हुँदैछ किडनी सम्बन्धी इट्स अबाउट हेल्थ केयर हेल्थ एजुकेसन हैन किडनीको महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका के हो यसलाई कसरी चाहिँ हेल्दी राख्न सक्छौँ के गर्छौँ भने एकजना डाक्टर
किडनी डोनेट गर्ने हैन
हजुर
किडनी चाहिँ डोनेट गर्ने त हैन है
चाहिएको छ भने मेबी हैन
अनि त्यो ठाउँमा आइएन
हैन पहिला त हेल्दी क्लिनिक हुनु पर्यो नि डोनेट गर्नलाई त्यस कारणले स्टेप 1 है एकजना हाम्रै नेपाली डाक्टर पोखराको हुनुहुन्छ केन्टकी बेस उहाँले गरिदिनुहुन्छ प्लिज जोइन गर्नुस् अनि साथीहरुलाई पनि भन्नुस् it's a kind of it's a big issue big health issue among in Nepalese community about kidney and then so that's it from my side
is it through Zoom
everything is through Zoom and हामीले पोस्ट गरिरहेको छ तर but you will see this weekend again post in messengers and Facebook group and page